Foreman. George, thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks back at you.
Hey, George, you know, everyone's been focused on Muhammad Ali. When the three of you guys and Kenny Norton and Larry Holmes get together, people are worried about Ali. I know he had diabetes, but were you as stunned as most that he passed this quick?
Shocked, because we stayed pretty much close together. But that's Joe Frazier. He's not going to complain. You can knock him down. If he can see, he's going to get up and try to swing at you, and that's probably the way he took on life. Didn't want anybody worried about him.
What was he like when you guys were together? Because you fought twice. He fought with such courage. You destroyed him twice. He'd be the first to admit it. He knocked him into retirement the first time at Nassau Coliseum. But you just had a lot of respect for him, right?
No, so much respect. Joe Frazier, the bell ring, he wouldn't back away from King Kong. I knew, because I had him down a couple of times. Even after 6 times he got up, still looking for me. They stopped the fight, but they didn't stop Joe Frazier, the most brave man I know. But when I got the message of Joe's passing, it was like, down goes George. I just didn't expect that. It was rough on me, especially. I know it's rough on his family, but you talk about a hero. Smoking Joe Frazier, a nickname of smoking, well-deserved.
And, you know, he came out of nowhere to become champion. All you guys seem to have overcome huge obstacles, but him as great as any. You know, he's a guy from a rural.
He was the most tall of all of us. He wasn't tall. They said 5'10", but he never saw a day that he was 5'10". But he made all of us run, that's for sure.
Do you think he got a raw deal with the Muhammad Ali rivalry? He seemed really kind of bitter. When you guys did Champions Forever, that awesome video that you put together with Foreman, Ali,
we
and Norton.
spent a lot of time together. I'm glad you mentioned that. Joe Frazier, and I can tell you something secretly. Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali, the only problem were they loved each other. They didn't like the idea that they loved each other. They had to have each other. When they got around there, I was always separating them, and I found out at the last, like two brothers, one always teasing the other. They wanted to hug, but they said, let's tease. They loved each other. I can guarantee you that.
Well, I mean, what did they mean to America? The year's 1971, fresh out the Vietnam War, protests like crazy. You have a gold medal that you could call your own, and you have Muhammad Ali 3.5 years after being banned from boxing, undefeated champion for not going to war, and Joe Frazier, for some reason was categorized as almost the white man's champion, and Muhammad Ali got the black mantle. Am I correct?
You know, Joe Frazier had migrated from the southern United States, and he was accustomed to being called names, but he never took any of that personal. He knew that at the last, you got to get in the ring, and that bell is going to ring, and that's what it was all about. He fought. He always fight. And being called names, no big deal. He knew that Muhammad Ali loved him. As a matter of fact, he loaned Muhammad a lot of money when he was in exile.
You talk about when you were actually fighting him, you know, you knocked him down once or twice, but then he wound up with that famous left hook, and it just missed you.
Yeah.
And you thought what?
I remember knocking him down the first time. I said, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Knocked him down the second time. I said, he's going to kill me for that. The third time, I said, I better keep knocking him down. And at the last, he was still trying to get a hold of me.
Right.
He knocked him down 6 times, but he was up every time.
And George Foreman, as I talked to about the passing of Joe Frazier, do you think, what could you say right now for the sports fan that didn't grow up seeing the rivalries that you guys had and the times in which you fought? What should we all know about Joe Frazier and maybe this next generation of sports fans doesn't know?
Joe Frazier put boxing, they had originally torn down the original Madison Square Garden, and everybody was saying it'll never be the same until there was Joe Frazier. He was the man who built the house, who rocked the house.
Right, and now that you have, when you guys get together with Ali and Norton and Holmes and those guys?
Oh, it'll never be the same.
Right.
It'll never be the same.
Do you plan on attending any of the ceremonies or anything that are most likely going to take place in Philadelphia where he lived?
No, I don't think so. The family, they deserve him now. I had a lot of Joe Frazier. The two of us did commercials together. We even exchanged monies and gifts and watches. Now, I'll allow the family to enjoy the last services of sending their dad off into heaven, and they deserve it.
And George, thanks so much. Always great to hear from you, and nobody better to talk about Joe Frazier than George Foreman. Thanks, George.
Bye-bye.